Welcome back inside the High School T Press Box. Ben McCormick, Jonas Pope, Joel Bryant here. We're talking about the 919 today for our football previews. Everyone in studio, first time in doing this whole podcast studio thing here, so it's pretty cool. I guess we're going to start with the Cap 8 because that's kind of the obvious conference to start with here. So Jonas, last year, Millbrook wins the conference. They get over the Roseville hump, and of course they go to the state championship game where they lose to Huff. It's going to be a little bit different of a team this year. They lost a lot of receivers from last season. Where are you at on this team? Do you think they're going to be similar to last year, or are you expecting something better, maybe slightly worse? Where are you at?
It's a good question. I don't think they'll be worse. Let's start there. I don't think they'll be worse because when you have the guys they have on defense, it's hard to take that many steps back, and especially at this level, at the high school level, you have elite level defenders at each level, the defensive line, linebackers, secondary. That'll carry you a long way. Offensively, like you said, a lot of question marks because of the receivers they lost. Experienced quarterback, experienced tight end, experienced running back. That helps. I mean, also losing some guys on the offensive line hurts. But you have a good base, a good foundation for high school football. You have a D1 quarterback, elite running backs, and some solid guys up front, and a big security blanket and a tight end. Then what we saw from the scrimmage at Cary last weekend, have a freshman quarterback. If all things fail, things go terribly wrong, and need to go to someone else. Mm-hmm. He showed me something. He was probably one of the guys I was most impressed with, just his poise, how he handled being on that stage as a freshman, a little guy too. But he made some plays, showed some flashes. I don't know if they'll regress by a whole lot. Obviously, I mean we can just jump right to it. The big game is when they play Roseville. That's what everybody wants to hear talk about. It's going to be them or Roseville. Obviously, Leesville might have something to say about that in the league. But, I mean, truthfully, the fans of this area are looking at that game. I mean, they've been talking about it on Facebook all summer. That's been the highlight of my summer is the parents on Facebook talking about Roseville and Millbrook.
You just got some popcorn just reading the comments.
Daily. It was better than the paper. I would go up there every morning and just watch for the dads going back and forth about Millbrook and Roseville. But, again, I just go back to what I said. When you have that level of a defense at the high school level, I mean, that'll carry you a long ways. That you can always expect a team with talent like that on that side of the ball to go far and play deep into December.
It's kind of a similar story with Roseville this year. There's a lot we can say about in terms of things that are different from last year, but we're still talking about a team with 4 Power 4 guys that are seniors. Yeah. Marquise Bryant's going to Kentucky. Jaden Brody's going to South Carolina. A.J. Randall's going to Virginia Tech. Then Amir Brown's going to Nebraska. So they have a different coach this year, and Kevin Reddick takes over for Rainier Rackley. Jonas or Ben, do you think there's going to be that much of a change with Roseville this year, or do you think that even though there's some things to overcome, just having those 4 guys is just going to be enough to will them to another 9+ win season?
I mean, you can see maybe some stylistic differences perhaps, but I think that we saw that offense. It was high-powered. I mean, we got some little short snippet games at the Jamboree, but it was pretty high-powered. They had some plays even where they were, finding Roberts in the back of the end zone. He's kind of, slipping with it, dropping it. Things that probably aren't going to happen typically. Yeah.
There's not going to be a big video board on the back of the end zone for A.J. Roberts in the normal high school game. I think he saw that video board last second. It was like, I got lit up here.
Yeah, so that's going to be interesting. And, I think when you look at how they match up with Millbrook, Jonas, you talked about that high-powered defense in Millbrook. At Roseville, it's that offense, man. And I think we saw a little bit of that. I don't think they're going to waver because of the coaching change. You might see slight play differences, but they're going to be really stout.
Here's the thing about Roseville. Since Rackley started and he's gone, it's still carried over because some of those guys are still on the roster and just the blueprint he left for that program. Roseville still thinks they are the team to beat in this area, even though they lost to Millbrook last year. In their mind, they're still up here. Like, they're still at the mountaintop. You got to go through us. I was wondering how that they've always had that confidence the last couple of years, and I was wondering how that would look coming into this year with a new coach. But when I saw them in Cary a couple weeks ago, I was like, no, Roseville still walks. They still strut. Right. They still walk the walk and talk the talk, and they backed up on the field. I was impressed with Brody. Marquise Bryant, we have a guy who's been on the varsity 4 years, and he's going to the SEC school, leading the way in the back. Like, you're in good hands. Brody was probably one of the most impressive defensive guys I saw in Cary last Friday. Or even the 2 Jamborees I've gone to, he's probably the most impressive defensive figure I've seen here in Streets. And then go to the other side of the ball, a P5 running back, a P5 receiver, big offensive line. When I saw them walk onto the field last week, I was like, man, I mean, I had people tell me like, watch out for Roseville offensive line. They're gonna be really, really good this year. And like to see them up close, like, oh, okay, that's what you need. They got some hogs up front. And when you're blocking for a guy who's going to Nebraska, like Amir Brown, one of the hardest runners I've seen around here, you're in good hands. And then not to mention your new head coach, who has NFL experience, played in the ACC, won a state championship in high school.
Yeah, one of the most prolific players in state history.
Yeah. Played in one of the bigger programs in North Carolina, knows how to win. Again, played in the NFL, knows the X and O's part of it. You're left in good hands. So you already talk about a good defense who's led by a guy who's defensive minded. He put the right people around him, kept some guys on that staff, has enough veteran presence on both sides of the ball. Like, yeah, I don't see much of a fall off. I see Roseville staying right there, like you said, the 8 or 9 win area.
The guy we're starting to identify in that offensive line is Emmanuel Miller, what's that? From Rolesville. Yeah, Emmanuel Miller, 2029 right tackle. Big kid. So watching him this year. Jaden Brody, we talked about him before, but for me, I always saw the potential, like the body, right? Like obviously, like you look at him in pads, you're like, yeah, we're gonna offer you. But the production hasn't been quite there so far in his career. He only had 3.5 sacks last year. But the way he looked in the Jamboree on that Saturday, I think he's going to be a 10-plus sack guy this year at least. I think he's starting to put it together. Yeah. So that's very intimidating for other teams.
Someone asked me at the beginning of the year, like, who you think is going to have more sacks? Brody, Streets, or Sturdivine at Wake Forest? And I was like, probably Streets. Now after seeing Brody, I was like, it's going to be interesting between those three guys. Yeah. I know we haven't jumped to Wake Forest yet, but between those three guys, it's going to be a fun stat to watch throughout the year.
And speaking of edge rushers, there's a freshman at Leesville Road named Major Howell who will be finding out about this coming season. Excited for him. Leesville Road, they were the third-place team last year. They lost the quarterback to Mazio Cueto to Clayton, but we're still expecting them to be pretty good. It didn't look like there was much of a fall-off at all from them in 7-on-7. You wouldn't even have thought that the quarterback wasn't there from last year. So looking forward to them. Enloe still progressing under Ryan Clark. Last year's 6-5 season, they finished 4th in the conference. I can see them taking another step this year because they have most of the stars back from last year. These other teams, Broughton, Corinth Holders, Wakefield, Athens, Strive. Interesting storylines. Broughton, they have a former NC State player coaching them now, so that's going to be fascinating to see. Any thoughts on the rest of the teams in this conference before we move on?
I will say this. You guys have heard me say this a lot. I talk a lot about the eye test, like teams that look good, not the bus, teams that have size. When I saw Broughton last year in the playoffs against Leesville Road, I was like, they passed the eye test. Mm-hmm. They looked the part. They have some big guys at the right position, so they really looked the part. I'd be curious to see how they do this year with a new coach. Again, a coach with college experience. Corinth Holders I saw them once last year. They were fun to watch. Really, really passionate bunch. Play hard for their coach. Also look good. They have some guys in some positions that look the part. So I'd be curious to see how they do as well in this conference.
The other 8A conference in this area is the Quad City 7-8A. That one's a mouthful. The Quad City 7-8A. So Jordan won this conference last year. They were 11-1. I think Jordan's going to be a little bit different this year without Noah Clark going both ways for them. I hear that Noah Clark's going to play a lot at South Carolina this year right away as a freshman. So that kind of tells you the kind of player he was. Apex Friendship finished in 2nd. Willow Spring finished in 3rd. Panther Creek finished in 4th. Green Hope, Apex, and Green Level rounded it out. I think if there's a team that's going to climb up the standings a little bit this year, I think it's Panther Creek. They returned a lot of starters from that team last year. They're always athletic, and it seems like they're on a good trajectory right now. Do you have any takes on Jordan and Apex Friendship, guys? Do you have a favorite between those two?
I saw Jordan a couple times last year, and like you said, they were deep, athletic. I saw them against Hillside, and I saw them against Southern. Obviously, they're two rivals. And King always one of the better coaches in the area. He's won a state championship. He's been at the collegiate level. He's going to have those guys ready to go X and L's wise. Apex Friendship, I saw them as well last year. Always a solid program. Always sound. So I think it'll come down to those two teams. But like you said, Panther Creek, a lot of guys back, a lot of athletes. I can't give them a fair assessment because I saw them against Hoggart last year. And Hoggart's really good, obviously.
Yeah, right.
So they didn't really go their way. Yeah. But sprinkles. I saw little sprinkles of some athletes and some talent over there at Panther Creek. So should be another tough one. But quite frankly, and this could be bulletin board material for whoever, I think it'll come down to Jordan Apex Friendship, like we said earlier.
To me, the difference might end up being the quarterback difference. So Melton's now gone from Jordan, but Apex Friendship has McGarrigan back from last year. He was the junior, threw for 20 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. That could be the difference when that game happens is the experience at quarterback. but we'll see. So this is one of the conferences where it's like any kind of order can happen, and you wouldn't really be surprised. But I do think those top two, I expect them to stay in that top two. Just everything else after that, who knows? So, Ben, do you have any takes on this conference?
I haven't seen Apex Friendship play. I saw Jordan at 7-on-7s. They look pretty good. With the quarterback change and all, they look solid. I have seen Willow Spring in both 7-on-7 and in scrimmages. I do like them. Like you said, I don't really expect them to be a top 2 team in this conference, but I liked them. They played against a team that I'm going to talk about a little bit more later.
Yeah. We're going to jump over to the Tobacco Road 6A, 7A. Speaking of Jordan being from Durham, Jordan's kind of a miscast in that new conference, I think. I think they need to be in this conference.
I think we talked about this last year,
because
last offseason too.
We have other conferences with 3 classifications. This one is 6A, 7A, but you can easily add an 8A in there because we're doing that in other parts of the state.
Yeah.
So,
if I'm Jordan, I would have legit beef that I'm not in the Durham conference with the rest of the Durham schools.
If I was Jordan, I would be making an appeal at middle lineman this November to try to get back with the Durham schools because it's just going to be more fun if they're back in with them.
Or maybe they like where they are with the teams they're in the conference with.
Maybe.
A little easier path, maybe. No disrespect to the other teams.
But the conference championship aspect of it doesn't really matter for playoffs anymore.
Sure.
So I think you could maybe argue that they would have a higher RPI playing in this Tobacco Road conference than.
True.
I could probably make that argument. Anyways, Southern Durham won this conference last year. They finished 5-0 in conference play, only 7-5 overall though last year. It's kind of a team that I think they had more talent than that record kind of showed you. We can get into that a little bit more. Hillside finished in second. Chapel Hill finished in third. Riverside finished in fourth. Northern Durham finished in fifth. East Chapel Hill finished in sixth. So Southern Durham, this rising senior class, this 2027 group with Jonathan Dillon, Lance Harrison, all of them. We've known about them for a while since they were freshmen. They were hyped up since then. A lot of people from Southern thought this would be the team to get them back to a state championship, this group right here. So they have the star power. Lance and Jonathan are going to Duke. They're going to be doing different things at Duke, but they're one of the best duos in the state. Where are you at in Southern, and do you think that they will kind of start kind of matching their potential this year?
So I said this on record when J. Mike and I called the game when they played Middle Creek. Maybe I didn't say it on record. I'm going to say it on record now. I like Southern a lot. They have so much talent each and every year, but I've been covering sports here since 2014. I said they're one of the most bipolar programs I've ever been around in my life because they have the talent every single year, and then you watch them and they'll lose a game they have no business losing, or a couple games that they have no business losing. They got to get over that. They got to shake whatever that is off. Maybe the state championship in basketball, maybe some of that mojo's gonna carry over to the football team. But whatever that was holding them back, they got to shake it off. Like you said, they have 2 of the most talented guys in the area. I've definitely said that John Dillon is one of my favorite players in this class. Leading the way. Lance is a dog. They got a good coach, experienced staff. They got to get over it. They can't drop games that have no business dropping with the talent they have. Let's put pressure on them. Yes, this is the year they got to get past the second round. They can't. Who did they lose to in the second round last year? They went out east and lost someone they had no business losing to, in my opinion. But they can't do that. They got to be at least a third round team.
It was D.H. Conley.
Respect to D.H. Conley, but
yeah.
you got to beat D.H. Conley if you're Southern Durham, right?
Yeah.
So I expect them to make a deep run this year, especially when they're led by those seniors.
To me, Hillside's a clear number 2 in this conference, at least. I mean, they might beat Southern this year. Who knows? I think Hillside might have a little bit more experience on the offensive line than Southern Durham does this year. They have some key guys back between Lilly, Starks. I know Starks graduated last year, but Stevenson, the quarterback's back. Trey Belcher was the other quarterback transferred to Southeast Raleigh. But they do have experience back there. Torrey now, we're just kind of waiting for that Hillside team to just really kind of announce itself with him leading it. So maybe this is a year where they kind of roll off a big playoff run and go to the 4th round. Maybe we'll see what happens. Ben, do you have any takes on this conference in terms of maybe the rest of the teams here?
Yeah, I mean, Jonas kind of hit the nail on the head, I think, when he talked about that up and down play from Southern Durham. I mean, we saw it in those short glimpses in the Jamboree a little bit, right? Their line struggled to hold for a while, and then, it improved later. They sort of struggled to hold Lex Sevilla pushing the ball down the field for Middle Creek, and then sort of, alleviated that issue. They struggled to push it and then alleviated it. It was you could see in that short little scrimmage that the talent is very much there across the field, across positions. But there are times where it's just they don't look quite as dialed in, and then there are other times where like, well, yeah, I see why these guys are going D1, right?
Absolutely.
And so it's interesting, but they are nonetheless the clear favorite, I think, in this conference.
Last year, Southern beat Hillside by 1 point. It was 14-13.
You know why? Because they had like a 80 or 90-yard drive, and they put the ball in John Dillon's hands every play and just let him play football. They let him scramble around, find Lance, scramble around, find some other guy, scramble around, run. They just let him loose on that last drive. He took him right down the field and won.
Here's the question, though. I understand he's very dynamic, playing quarterback and everything, but don't you think they would rather have a more traditional quarterback and just like let him dominate on the outside still?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But you got to play who you got.
Yeah.
You got to put the ball in your best player's hands. You got a guy like that. You got to find a way to put the ball in his hands if you don't have a quarterback that's going to throw it to every play. What year is this for Torrey at Hillside? This is year 3 or 4?
I want to say it's 4.
4? Okay. So Pamlico, he was in the state championship after what, year 2 or 3?
A few years. Yeah.
New Bern, 2 or 3 years?
Probably 4 years. Yeah.
Was it 4 years? Okay. So
yeah,
he's trending in the right direction to take
yeah.
Hillside to the state championship game. He's right on schedule, I would think, based off his resume of maybe a state championship appearance.
We'll see what happens. Could be this year. All right, so really fun one, the Greater Neuse Rivers 7A. Clearly the best 7A conference in the state. I actually think it's the only conference with only 7A teams in the state. But in terms of conferences that have 7A teams, mostly this one's pretty up there in terms of parity. The top 4 teams in this league, Clayton, Cleveland, Garner, Southeast Raleigh last year. We had ties for first and ties for second. Everybody kind of beats each other in this conference. Expecting the same 4 teams to battle it out again this year. There are some differences, though. Cleveland does not have Scott Riley anymore. He left for Swain County. Scott was obviously a big part of that defense there. They hired Cody Vick, who has a defensive background, to lead the team. OC stays the same. Most other things stay the same. Their quarterback's back. Good running back. So it's going to be kind of a matter of just – it's going to be interesting to see how much of Cleveland's success was Scott Riley and how much of it just was the whole program as a whole and everything that was going well for the program. I'm having a hard time picking this conference because most of the summer I'm thinking Southeast Raleigh. But lately, just based off how the scrimmages look, I think it's Garner. So do you have any inkling, Ben?
I mean, well, we sort of talked about it, I think, on Press Box maybe last week where we were talking about Southeast Raleigh. And they looked a little bit tired in those jamborees. There was a lot of heat going on. So I'm not going to hold that against them. But Garner looks really, really good. That offense looks really, really solid. They went up against a Northern Nash team that we think pretty highly of in 6A and handled them. I mean, there was a little bit of a late, surge by Northern Nash, but they handled them. And I really like what I've seen from them. I think A.J. Randall's a beast. From what I've seen of him, I haven't seen a ton of him, obviously, but I really like them. I can't speak a ton to Clayton. I know Jonas can talk a little more to Clayton, but I do like Garner from what I've seen from him.
But this is the best league in the state, in my opinion.
Yeah,
I mean, every week it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be a murderer's row. Clayton, they're always solid. Always great coaching. Always have some D1 guys sprinkled all across their lineup. Cleveland, you mentioned they lost, their coach who had been there for so long and made such an impact there. But I think the mindset and the culture is there now. Mm-hmm. And I always said, man, that program out there in Cleveland, they get more out of those guys than most programs around, bigger population, bigger cities. Those guys just come to play every Friday night. Southeast Raleigh, like you said, that's a team all summer. Everyone had their eyes on that's they're next. They're up next. And then we saw them at Cary a couple weeks ago. It's kind of like,
So,
I mean, are they again? It was a limited sample size. I'm not gonna hold it against them, but I want it to be wowed by Southeast Raleigh. Sure. It's kind of like
the context with Southeast and all of that is that so they start school like very early. They start school like end of July, so they had to practice in the afternoon. Except right now, it's been so hot in the afternoon they can't literally practice outside. So that jamboree was their first time playing outside, doing anything outside for like a week.
Okay.
So I don't know how much that had to do with it. Obviously, I'm sure those coaches would prefer to be outside on the field and practicing stuff, but there's some things they just can't control. I tell you, the thing that interested me or impressed me the most about Garner in the Jamboree on Friday was their offensive line. It's not like the biggest looking offensive line in the world, but Northern Nash could not get through them. Northern Nash was sending extra guys. They were, even when they were just going all out, sending everybody, they could not get through to Ormondy. And if Ormondy's going to stay up all year, that's going to be dangerous for other teams because, as we know, he's got a cannon of an arm. He threw that big Hail Mary pass.
Like 70
It
yards.
made me stand up, put
Yeah.
my hands on the back of my head in the press box, man. That was crazy.
So, I mean, if the Garner offensive line is going to play like that, where teams literally just can't even touch the guy, it's going to be very hard to beat them.
Yeah.
Like, very hard to beat them.
They got some skilled guys. And I want to go back to Southeast Raleigh for a second. Looking at their schedule, it's an interesting first 4 weeks. Enloe, Dudley, East Wake, Gibbons. You got to kind of wonder. Then they go right into conference with Garner. So if they go 2-2 against Dudley and Gibbons and East Wake and Enloe, where's their heads going to be going into Garner? You know, if they go 4-0 going into Garner, then they might skyrocket. They might ride that rocket all the way to December.
Yeah.
So that 4 week stretch from Enloe to Cardinal Gibbons with Dudley and East Wake in between is going to tell a lot because can you get up for East Wake and Enloe?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They're going to get up for Dudley for sure and
Right.
Gibbons. I mean, they'll get up for Enloe because it's a rival, but it's not going to be the same. Can
So
you
you're
get up for those
thinking-
games and stay at that level of those 4 games and then carry that over to
You're thinking it's a
conference play?
team that kind of just like needs to accumulate over the course of the season, like momentum wise. Like you think that they just need to kind of build up. It can't be a team that might not respond well to adversity.
Exactly. They got to smack Enloe, play no disrespect to Enloe, I guess. Play they beat Dudley. They get Dudley at home, which is good.
Yeah.
If they beat Dudley,
That Dudley game's back at Wake Med, actually.
is it really?
Yeah.
I'll take that game if no one's taking it yet.
Well, we have not.
Is the game? Is that the game of the week?
We have not been invited to that yet, but surely
What you mean you haven't been invited?
I haven't gotten an email about it yet.
I'm not following. We have our credentials, right? We just show up. What you mean? Okay, maybe the conversation for later. Sorry. Anyway,
Well, hopefully Southeast isn't cursed on that field for their sake.
Right, yeah.
very good point. But if they get up and win that game, go to East Wake, them rolling in the Cardinal Gibbons on the 10th of September, that's going to be like the measuring, the thermometer for the rest of their season, I think.
Mm-hmm. I've heard good things out of Fuquay this preseason. I think if I saw correctly, they beat Holly Springs 21-0 in a scrimmage, so that's a good sign for them. South Garner, interesting team because they've always had a lot of talent. They always have top-level guys. The receiver there they have, Randolph Ross. He's a pretty good player. He might be one of the best receivers in this conference. So there's going to be some good stuff out of South Garner. It's just the top 4 is just going to be so tough to overcome this year. And it still could be – South Garner I still think could be a team that over time becomes one of those teams. It's just I'm not sure it's going to happen this year.
Yeah, and like we looked at it before, Clayton is a team we talk about, but you look at their schedule, like the last month of the season, I said it before we came on air, like, man, I would not want to have that murderer's row to go Southeast, South Garner, and Cleveland the last 4 weeks. Like, you better that's a tough stretch right there for any coach in the state.
Yeah.
But if anybody can do it, it's the coach out of Clayton.
Clayton is very confident. We did not have them in our top 25 preseason poll. They were not happy about that. I think highly of Aiden Smalls. I think Aiden Smalls just willed that team to the state championship last year. I know Damasio Cueto is a good player, but Aiden Smalls is just different to me. I mean, he literally put the team on his back to get them past Gibbons, to get them that far. It's just some of the things you have to kind of see it. You have to see it without Aiden Smalls this year. I know they add other talent. They have C.J. Dickerson from Hunt, who was also in a state championship game last year. So they have guys there. It's just just gotta see it.
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a diss to Clayton. I think it's pretty fair. You want to see it on film without Aiden Smalls and the defensive lineman Stancil. Stancil, yeah, is going to Miami. Those
Miami
two
now.
huge pieces that you're missing.
Underrated, but the tight end River Fiore, he was an incredible blocker for them as well. So he was leading the way for a lot of those Aiden Smalls runs. And yeah, so it's just going to be different, and we'll have to see how it works out. I mean, I don't think they're going to be terrible. It's just, it's hard to be top 25 out of state with 500 teams. That's upper right there, So we'll see how it goes. The Northern 6A, 7A Jonas. You mentioned this team earlier, Wake Forest. They won the conference by 2 full games last year in the standings. Wake Forest finished 7-5. I'm expecting that number to be better this year. I think this is Wake Forest's best team since 2019 when they won the 4AA state championship. They have
best team since then.
Since then.
Okay, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. I heard that wrong. Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, no. I'm not saying they're that good yet, but they've added talent as well. Jaden Hartsfield comes from Southern Nash, really productive running back, and they already had a good backfield, of course, with Michael Olu there. Landon Perry, the sophomore quarterback, he looks impressive. He was pretty good as a freshman. He gets the ball out very fast, and it fits in really well with what they do in general, just the kind of quick game stuff. I'm very high on this team. I don't know if you guys are as high on them as I am, but what are we thinking?
No, I'm pretty high on this team. I've seen them. They're like two teams that I've seen more than anyone this summer, and it's Wake Forest and Seaforth. It's so Wake Forest has looked really, really good. 7-on-7s. It wasn't even necessarily the offense that stood out to me. It was the defense. Like they were picking teams off left and right, just more interceptions than any other team this summer by far. Like, yeah, I think there was one game, and this is a 7-on-7, so this is short, where they had like 3 or 4 picks. And that's really, really impressive. And what we've seen from them matching up time and time again so far with these other top 25 teams, and they're holding their own. I mean, whether they're winning or losing, they're holding their own. And I've been really, really impressed by that.
I said I saw him at 7-on-7 at NC State, and I told my nephew played at Wake Forest. So I sent him a text. I was like, man, this looks like an old Wake Forest team physically, like their shorts and T-shirts. Then I saw him in pads at Cary. And like, oh, they play physical like an old Wake Forest team. Like they got some big guys. They swarm to the ball, like you said. They were picking off passes at 7-on-7 that carried over to what I've seen them on the field so far.
And they're locked in.
They
just all business.
Oh, there you go. That's the
very,
best
very,
way.
very disciplined team.
Yeah,
that's the best way to describe a Wake Forest team. All business.
They rolled into the Southeast Raleigh scrimmage, just went right down the field on them like immediately, and yeah, they're confident. And the confident Wake Forest is kind of a scary thing.
Very scary. I said this for years. Like Reggie Lucas, regardless of who he has in the uniforms, that's a guy I just wouldn't want to coach against most Friday nights, just because of his experience and what he's seen and what he's done. I will say this though, it's another team in this conference I want to talk about.
Yeah.
So we've done 2 jamborees, and I think the most impressive team I've seen from top to bottom was Franklinton. Out of any of the jamborees, any teams we've seen. I mean, offensively, they put up 35 points in a running clock scrimmage.
Yeah.
They didn't give up any points. Forced three turnovers.
And also, we bumped the time down this year from 24 to 22 minutes. So.
Yeah. So they scored almost every drive, every possession. They almost scored. Yeah. And they look good. They got the quarterback from Bunn who transferred over. Big offensive line, skilled guys at every level. Defensive line was just in who did they play?
South Johnson.
Thank you. South Johnson.
Yeah.
Was in the South Johnson backfield all night. They look good. And can they beat Wake Forest? I don't know, but they look Friday night. They look like they can play on the field with anybody.
They are for sure the second best team in this conference.
Oh, absolutely,
at least. I think their offense brought back so much from last year, except for quarterback, and of course when they found Josiah Rice from Bunn, I think I told you guys this the other night. I think he's kind of changed the ceiling of that team.
Yeah,
because he goes from a situation at Bunn where he's, I guess, kind of like Aiden Smalls last year, just kind of like pulling them and willing them to victory. Where now he's got weapons around him.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of weapons around him, and they look very good. They're confident as well. Ben, I know you've seen them both in preseason. Do you think there's any shot Franklinton has against Wake Forest? It would take the right night, everything going right.
Yeah, I mean, few teams have improved quite like Franklinton has over the past couple of seasons. So, like, I saw them in their opener last year against Person, and so I'm coming from Roxborough. I actually thought Person was going to win that game because I was looking at Franklinton's record the previous year, 2-8. Similar personnel. I was like, this is a game Person can win here. Franklinton came out and, man, they played well, and they only built on that, throughout the season, just kept getting better and better and better. And then when I saw them this summer, I was just like, they're considerably better than they were last year too. And I think Rice takes them to the next level. I don't know if they're as good as Wake Forest. I don't know if I can go that far, but I think they can give them a run for their money.
And looking at their schedule, Franklinton, they could be undefeated heading into Wake Forest in late October. I mean, they got Heritage, bigger school, Riverside Durham, bigger school. That'd be tough, but they really could. As good as they look when we saw them, they can roll in there undefeated. That could be a big match. Are they 6A?
They are 6A. That's what I was going to get into. So 6A is like it's wide open, right? We have Northern Nash, we have Rose, we have Scotland, we have Jacksonville. But to me, there's teams that we see at the top, but there's not really a clear team like this team's going to grab it because every team has questions. In the right scenario, if they stay healthy, everything kind of goes their way, they could work their way into being one of those teams. I think that. But we'll just see how things develop for them. It's going to be interesting.
That's wild. My senior year of high school, Franklin was 1A.
Yeah, isn't that something? Well, that's where all the growth is like across the border there because they've run out of room on Capitol Boulevard up through Wake Forest, so they keep going up into Franklinton now.
Like, I feel bad. It's Lewisburg. They got to play Lewisburg. Lewisburg, Bunn, and Franklin were 3 schools that came to my conference my senior year because we were all 1A. And then Franklin's like, and Bunn's was 2A, 3A, something like that, right?
Bunn is, I think they're 4A now.
4A, okay, yeah. Man.
Yeah.
Growth.
I still don't know all the classifications by heart, so we're working
Okay.
on it. But I think they're 4A. Elsewhere in this conference, Nightdale's new coach, Marcel Johnson, takes over. Pooh Ward left Nightdale to go to Southwest Edgecombe. So that's going to be a change there. East Wake, I see East Wake has transfers. They put a bunch of transfers on Instagram, so I guess they have transfers. We'll see how that goes for them. Vance County, tough spot for them. This is kind of a different conference than what they were used to when they moved into here last year. Still trying to find their way in this league. Heritage, there were some staffing changes there, so not really expecting Heritage to give much of a fight to Franklinton this year. So I think it is those top 2 teams, and we'll just see how it goes. I'm going to take Wake Forest, and maybe the right night Franklinton could get them, but as of now, I'm going to go Wake Forest here.
I think it's a pretty safe pick.
Carolina Pines 6A. So we mentioned this team, South Johnson. They are also in our jamboree. West Johnson's also a 919 team. South Johnson, I think I think they're facing a Franklinton team that really was amped for that game. There was some thing in 7-on-7 that happened where teams had disagreement or something. So I think Franklinton is pretty amped for that and kind of jumped on them. It's interesting though. It's Carolina Pines 6A. It's a lot of 910 teams. South Johnson finished in second last year. To me, it's going to be hard for that to happen again. There's some other teams involved here. Harnett Central with Kobe Howard back at quarterback. That's the team I've kind of identified as maybe a potential team to threaten Union Pines in that conference. West Johnston, they're consistent. They're consistently kind of in the middle of the pack here. We'll see how things develop for them. Interesting in Johnston County with Cleveland losing the coach and then Wilson's Mills opening. There's going to be some change in Johnston County. We're not really sure what's going to happen with the districts, how those lines are moving, so maybe West Johnston can take advantage of that into the future. Last up here, so the Swine Valley 2A, 3A. Technically, we do have Princeton and Rosewood in 919 here. Princeton, I want to highlight here before we go. They were 7-5 last year. They were pretty young last year. They have a kid on Princeton who I want to shout out on this episode here. Theo McFadder was a sophomore last year. He averaged over 200 rushing yards a game. He is just a monster to take down. 2,400 rushing yards, 36 touchdowns last year as a sophomore. They have another guy who was a sophomore last year, Bogle. He had 800 yards and 10 touchdowns. They're loaded at the running back spot at Princeton. Not sure what the whole ceiling is in 3A, but 3A is open. 3A is open because Kinston had that prolific attack last year passing wise. Northeastern, they have the potential on paper to do it, but they haven't looked so solid in scrimmages yet. I don't know. There could be an avenue for Princeton with that rushing attack to make a run here. I don't know. Maybe it will be Princeton. That's all the notes I have on the main conferences in the area. Did we miss anybody here? I think we got most of the conferences.
I think we got to talk about Seaforth.
Oh yeah,
we got to talk about Seaforth.
We got to talk about
I'm
Seaforth.
forgetting somebody.
I
forgot to have the Big 7 open. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm gonna cook on this one. I've seen Seaforth a lot, man. Duncan Parker, 2,600 passing yards last year, almost 30 touchdowns thrown. For as good as that is on paper, I think that he seems to have improved. I mean, he sort of jumped off the field to both of us, I think, when we saw him at Duke for 7-on-7s. I've seen him a few more times since then. I've seen that offense a few more times since then. It seems really solid. Obviously, there can be some defensive questions. There's a quality of teams that they're playing questions, right? Like, This is a weak conference, really, it is. And so even if Seaforth goes in, they win the conference, what does that look like when they get to the playoffs? Are they prepared? I think where they've been throughout the summer is hopefully going to prepare them for that. It's like, maybe you've played some of these better teams, these 7A, these 8A schools, and you're a little bit better prepared for the looks you're going to get when you get to the 5A playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
I really like Seaforth. I think they're my clear pick in this conference. JF Webb won it last year, but Webb's entire offense really almost ran through Hobgood and Daniel, two of their running backs, and they both graduated. They got quarterback Daniel Wright back. He's really solid, but I think without those two workhorses, in the rushing core, they're going to really struggle to find that production again. This is a team that lost in the first round of the playoffs last year, two-person, really high-scoring affair. I don't know that they can repeat it without that personnel. In this conference, some team that's really interesting to me is Orange.
Mm-hmm.
Coach Fritz, former Southern Alamance head coach, took over there last year. I think that they're poised to make a jump here in year 2 because they brought back most of their guys from last year. So I like them. South Granville, they've got a new coach. Sterling Johnson is in at South Granville.
Remember Sterling Johnson, Jonas, from Cleveland? End up going to Clemson.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
He's the
said
coach.
His name was like,
Yeah.
it sounds familiar.
Yeah, he's the coach of South Granville now.
He is the head coach at
nice.
South Granville, and I think that they can definitely make a jump into the top 3. They had some good momentum at the end of last year. They beat Western Alamance, upset them in the playoffs. That one really shocked me. I was on the sideline covering another game, and I said, how'd Western's game go? And they said, well, South Granville won. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
I could not believe that, and so maybe they can use that as momentum this season, but. As far as the league goes in the Big 7, I think it's C-Force to lose, and there's a couple other interesting teams.
Things are still fluid in Granville County ever since Granville Central closed. I think JF Webb probably benefited from that last year by winning the conference. So basically the Granville Central kids are split between JF Webb and South Granville. So it's going to be interesting to see as we keep progressing here who really kind of takes the opportunity among those two schools. If they're all those kids are just going to be kind of ending up at one of the schools versus the other, or if it's going to be even split, not too sure. What do you think of that conference, Jonas, just after hearing us talk about it?
I didn't realize Granville Central had closed. You said it just did.
Yeah.
Wow.
It did close.
Not informed. But, I'm still stuck on that. Wow.
Yeah. It's unfortunate.
It is unfortunate.
Yeah.
Wow. I hate to hear that. We left a conference out for a second. We left out the Triangle 6A, 7A, didn't we?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we left Gibbons out.
How did we do that? Oh, because we're just assuming they're going to win it. Okay.
But
well, yeah, I mean,
let's go back. So Cardinal Gibbons won the Triangle 6A, 7A, but Middle Creek's the one that went to a state championship last year in the 6A class. Gibbons looks very good. They look at least in the second scrimmage, they look very good. The first scrimmage, I think they had more issues than they're accustomed to. But I mean, we just glossed about Wake Forest, and Gibbons kind of handled Wake Forest in that second scrimmage. So, what were you guys' takeaways on Gibbons?
I mean, Gibbons is Gibbons. You know what you're going to get, disciplined. They're not going to make a lot of mistakes. They're going to be talented. But I agree with you. I think Gibbons is going to win the league. But I did like the sample size I saw of Middle Creek. Mm-hmm. Again, a team that went to the state championship. I always say teams that go to the state championship and lose, I'm always curious to see how they respond the next year. Because they had that momentum, they had that experience, they had that taste in their mouths. They bring back some guys who play on that stage. So I don't expect them to just lay down. Again, I think Gibbons might win the conference, but I think Middle Creek can make it definitely interesting. Again, so many of these conferences we kind of have it narrowed down to the top 2 teams.
Yeah.
So same thing here with Gibbons and Middle Creek. Got to shout out Felton Grove though. My nephew plays for that school, so shout out.
Yeah, Felton Grove. We got a football here
right there. So that's why I remember. We got to go back to this conference. We didn't mention Felton Grove.
I can't believe I missed that conference. But so here's the thing with Gibbons to me that's been interesting. So we know that Stephen Wright's leaving after this year. It's kind of a different step. We don't really get these farewell tours in high school like we're getting right now. It's not like the Coach K farewell tour where everyone knew like he was leaving. But it is interesting because everyone in the program knows that Wright's leaving after this year. He's going over to St. David's to be the AD there. It could go one of 2 ways. It could be we're going to rally behind this guy and get him one last championship, or it could be maybe some adversity hits and people start checking out. I'm not really used to this in high school, so I don't really know what to expect. What do you think? How do you think that situation will affect them this year?
I don't see that happening at all.
Okay.
I see more of the rally happening because of what he's done for their program. But I'm also looking at their schedule. You talk about a murderous road to start the year.
Yeah.
Dudley, Huff, Southern Durham, and Southeast.
Yeah, and Huff's at Bank of America Stadium.
That's crazy.
I mean, yeah. I think they'll beat Dudley. Huff, it's just not going to happen. They beat Southeast last year.
And at Southern, it just depends on which Southern team shows up.
I think they beat Southern by like 30 last year.
That was last year, man.
Yeah. We'll see. I mean, we'll see. I mean, it's a very – there's going to be a lot of college talent in that field right there. Got an NC State guy, Griffin Cockerham. What do you think of Griffin Cockerham, Jonas? Because he's going to stay as a tight end, but he's been most effective as an edge rusher in high school. I know that he's a really good blocking tight end, but I would still like to see him use him more as like a passing threat.
Yeah, that kind of surprised me.
He's going to be doing that in college.
That surprised me when I saw he was going there as a tight end because, like, they just put.
They say he looks good in 7-on-7s.
Okay.
So, just like, can we do that on Friday nights?
Right.
You know?
I haven't
Every
seen
time
it. I haven't seen it the last couple years I've watched him play. I've seen him, cause havoc, playing defense for Gibbons. But hey, I mean, Dave Doran gets paid millions of dollars to make these evaluations, so maybe he sees something that we don't. He knows better than I do, so we'll see. Maybe they'll get him there, and maybe they'll be a little deep at the tight end room. Maybe he'll go back to defense down the road at some point. But I'd rather see him with his hand in dirt playing defensive end. Maybe bulk up, move inside the tackle, because that looks like where he can make his money down the road on the football field.
I think Middle Creek with Lex Sevilla back, that's a great place to start. Right, he threw for almost 3,000 yards last year. While they ran to the state championship game, it's just a little bit different without they don't have the running back Jane Spencer. He had a couple of receivers graduate. They still have Bacchiardi, the receiver. He's pretty good. Do we think they're kind of in line for another deep run, or do we think that maybe while it's going to be a good year, they're just going to get tripped up maybe a little bit earlier this year?
I mean, it's hard to tell. Like
the 6A is just so
like
hard
you said,
to figure out.
It's so wide open. What I like about Middle Creek is that passing game can just be breakneck, man. It's fast. It is fast completions. They're getting back to the line. That's tough. That's tough to defend no matter who you are.
And we did note, against Southern in that one scrimmage we saw, they were getting to Jonathan Dillon pretty easily. And that's without Davis Pritchard, who had 20 sacks for them last year. He graduated. So they must got some guys there, and just ready to come up and do well in that defense. So we'll see how things go. But I assume we're all taking Gibbons to win the Triangle Six.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Okay.
That's house money.
Okay. And then what's your pick for Felton Grove this year, Jonas? Felton Grove's first
Felton
year
Grove,
varsity.
Shout out Felton
You got him
Grove.
at a win.
Shout out my nephew
State
Easton.
champion.
You got him at state championship. 2 wins.
No, we'll be real here. Not a state championship. No, I think we talked about this at one of the jamborees we were all at. We looked at the schedule. 2-3 wins. What the first year?
Hey, that'd be an outstanding first year varsity.
First year playing varsity.
Yeah, that'd be outstanding.
I didn't see them last week at Enloe. My wife went. Enloe grad. Shout out my wife. She said they look pretty good. I trust her football eye.
Do we gotta call her, get her on the show right now?
She probably got the girls in the car, so probably would be a good idea.
Okay.
But I trust her football eye. She said, I asked her how they look. She said, they look pretty good. They look okay. Yeah, I thought my brother.
I agree with that. That they look pretty good. I saw them at North Johnston, and honestly,
right,
for a team that hasn't played varsity football yet, I was like, okay, okay, there's a little something here. They might win a couple or a few games here.
Yeah, I got them looking at the schedule. I'm not going to say who I have them beat. I'm going to say 1, 2, 3 games for sure.
Okay.
Chalk, put me down for 3 games, 3 wins.
Okay.
For sure.
You heard it here first.
That's
Felton
what we're
Grove,
putting
3
the
wins this
over-under
year.
on.
Yeah, put me down for 3.
All right. Well, I think we did get everybody now. In terms of other schools, I want to mention Ravenscroft. Nice hire for them this offseason. They got TJ Graham.
Oh, I think you were about to say me.
Oh, yeah, and Jonas. They got Jonas this offseason, too. Jonas is holding down that information department over there. So they got TJ Graham to lead the program. Mike Lennon, by the way, who hosts a podcast here, he's going to be their OC.
Is he in the building right now?
He's not here right now.
He's probably practicing.
He was here the other day, but he hosts Pack Therapy here. Of course, he played in the NFL. Notably, very tall guy. He's their OC now. So, it's good to have an OC with good vision of the field. He'll be able to see everything.
And TJ
Don't even need the press box.
Right.
TJ he's high on his group. I talked to him a couple of days ago. He's like, I think we'll be okay. He said, come out practice, check us out. So I think we'll be fine.
Here they got a quarterback from Christ School.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think the private schools in this area is, they're good schools and everything. They haven't really taken the football by the horns like those Charlotte private schools have. Like, there's no equivalent to Providence Day, Charlotte Christian here, but they could be.
Absolutely.
Like Ravenscroft could be that.
Absolutely.
So it's going to be a process, but I think that it's something to watch to monitor long term here is can Ravenscroft or NRCA or St. David's with Wright going over there now, can they develop their programs into something that we're seeing, something similar to what we see in Charlotte? I think, to me, that's like the biggest storyline in this area for the next 5 years is how good can those programs get?
We don't count Cardinal Gibbons.
Well,
I'm just
they're
joking.
not, as the guys say, but
They're already there.
yeah, they're already there.
But you're right. These programs, it's right there for the taking.
Yeah.
For these private schools, they just haven't taken the next step yet.
We'll see what happens. But I think good hire for Ravenscroft. I like TJ Graham a lot. I think he's going to do well there. All right. Well, I think that's everyone. We didn't miss a glaring conference again, right? We got all the. We got everybody.
I think we got everybody.
All right. Well, everyone, thanks for watching this episode or listening, whatever you were doing. We had a good time, and we're going to be doing this frequently this year. Now we got our little studio here. We'll be getting Jonas back in here some weeks, and we'll be talking football every week on High School T Press Box, so stay tuned to our feed here. Jonas, where can people find you on social media and whatnot?
They can find me on Twitter at JE Pope the Fourth, and on Instagram it's Jonas Pope the Fourth.
Okay.
Oh, and Facebook Jonas Pope the Fourth.
There we go. And you can find Ben on highschoolT.com. Anyone watching this probably already follows us on social media, so I think we're good. All right. Well, I appreciate it, everyone, and we'll see you next time.